This is The Last Laugh. I'm Matt Wilstein from The Daily Beast, and today on the show, I am so excited to welcome back a comedian, writer, actor, and former podcaster. I first got to know her as one half of Two Dope Queens, and she has a brand new stand-up special called I Don't Want to Work Anymore, streaming now on YouTube. Phoebe Robinson, welcome back to The Last Laugh.
Thanks for having me again. It's nice to be back. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been 5 years since you were last on the show, which is insane. I mean, so much has happened since then. Yeah. I know it doesn't feel like it, but it was a summer of 2020, which was a time that we all remember well.
Such a great time.
I think it was right when we started doing these virtually after doing them in the studio. So yeah, we were figuring it out as everyone else was, but we've stayed this way. But anyway, I want to start with your new special, which I just got to see and really, really loved. It's called I Don't Want to Work Anymore. You opened the special by saying you're 39 and don't want to be a girl boss anymore. I do know that you just turned 41 because we are the exact same age. So I guess it's been a little bit since you taped.
Yeah, I taped it April of last year. My birthday's in September. So I was 39 going on to 48.
So I thought maybe we could start with that, idea that you're putting out at the very beginning of the special. The special's called I Don't Want to Work Anymore. You talk about not wanting to be a girl boss. Where did that feeling come from? Something that you felt like you wanted to express on stage?
Yeah, I mean, I think like most people, you're just feeling burnt out. You're working more, but making less money. Mm-hmm. And, this especially was true 2019. I was moving into an apartment I just bought. I was like traveling nonstop, working on a new hour of material that wasn't this yet. I just sort of like had jokes I was on a flight, I think, to LA, and I was texting my best friend. I was like, I would 100% sleep with a 72-year-old if I did not have to go on this trip. And she's like, Phoebe, you're crazy. And I was like, no, I'm done. I was like, how many more years do I just have to just keep working nonstop? Like, what is it all for? And I just was like, oh, maybe that should be the theme of my next hour. I know I'm not the only person, whether you're a woman or not, who just feels supremely overworked. I'm like, this might resonate. Yeah.
Yeah. You say that you felt this pressure to have an empire. You're a comedian, you're a writer, you're an actor. You started this, book imprint. So you did have all of these different things going on. And do you feel like that's where that impulse came from? Like you felt like you had to do that to be successful in some way?
Maybe not to be successful, but it's like, well, I like this and I like that and I like this. And I think because I was a workaholic, my instinct was to go, oh, you have an interest in X, Y, Z. Yeah, just monetize it. Like I just, we all grew up with hustle culture in our 20s and 30s. So I just didn't really think anything of it. And I think now, like I started running 2 years ago. Now I've run my 4th marathon and people are like, oh, thank you. It's so fun. It's a cuckoo hobby, but it's so fun. And, I have, like some friends will be like, oh, you should like become like a run influencer. I go, I don't want to do that. I'm like, yeah. I just enjoy running. And I think, we've just been conditioned to there's no point in enjoying something if you can't make money off of it.
Right. Yeah.
And it's too much. We can't live like that. It's making us not happy.
Yeah, I feel that way just as somebody who writes about culture and interviews people. It's like sometimes I just want to watch a show that I don't have to have an opinion on or write about or just purely for fun. When I find those, it's always better. So, as you said, you taped the special when you were sort of about to turn 40. Now that you're, officially in your 40s, do you feel like this attitude has changed at all? Has it evolved since you were first thinking about it?
Yeah, I mean, I still have moments where I'm like, I'm still sick of this shit. I'm like, when does it end? Should I hit the lottery? Should I do something? But no, I think I just have really kind of reframed my ambition where it's not the most important thing. And I think before it was the most important thing. And, I think hopefully the silver lining coming out of COVID is that people would do some self-reflecting and sort of be like, is this the way that I want to keep living? And I think just, naturally when you reach your 40s, you have sort of those interior thoughts and you're really just trying to figure out like, oh gosh, like, okay, the first 40, here are the things I like, here are the things I don't like. And then what do I want to keep doing? And so I think now, because I hope this makes sense, but I think because I like myself more, the ambition is less fueled by feeling like I have to prove myself. And so I think that has made me want to take more time for rest. It's made me want to take more time in between doing creative things. It's made me want to not feel the need to rush through things, to check down, do the next thing, and sort of be present in the things that I'm creating. And this is not to say that like I wasn't present doing Two Dope Queens or any of the other things that I've done, but it's very easy to get caught up in that rhythm of, okay, the next thing. It's like, well, if you're not ever really like taking stock of what you did or going like, yo, thumbs up, that was fucking cool. And you're just off to the next thing. Like, I think after a while, you kind of like lose your center. So I think my ambition is more, obviously, pay the bills, but also make sure I'm really proud and really present and available and enjoying what I'm doing.
I feel like that enjoyment really comes through in the new special. Like I can feel you enjoying being on stage, being comfortable being on stage. Does it feel different now performing stand-up than it did, I don't know, 10 years ago, even longer ago? How does it feel different for you?
100% feels more different. I have more confidence. Coming up, I started doing stand-up in 2008. So it was very much like every set you have to kill. You always have to be perfect, blah, 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 blah. And that is just not the way to create stuff, art, fun things, whatever you want to call it. It's not about like trying to be perfect. But all that is to say, like, I really do feel as though I approach stand-up without the stress of like having to crush all the time. To me, that's not the point. Like, obviously you want to be good. But it's like, I want to figure out what it is I want to say in a way that's entertaining and interesting. And because early on in stand-up, it's just natural that you want to do well. So and especially if you're a woman of color, you really want to, you feel the pressure to have to do well so people will take you seriously. And I just decided, maybe, gosh, I would say probably I've been doing stand-up since 2008. I would probably say the first 10 years, I didn't really enjoy it. I kind of, like I had fun, but I would, 90% of shows I would dread doing. I always felt this pit in my stomach of like, oh God, I gotta go on stage, or oh God, I don't want to do this, or oh, I hope I get some work so I can like cancel this spot. And I think I was just feeling like I had to be a specific kind of way to be taken seriously. And I just was like, how about you just take yourself seriously? Just focus on that. Just focus on like what you love about stand up. And it really just reframed it. And I like fell in love with it again, and the writing process and going up and having bad sets and not feeling like, oh my God, I had a bad set. Just being like, whenever I have a bad set, I would just start saying to the audience, I go, this set's going to be really good for another audience, and hopefully you'll be in that one too. And you can see the progress I made with these jokes. And it just freed me from just being like, I don't have to be perfect.
Yeah. Was there a moment or even someone that you looked up to that you saw doing it a different way did that have any influence on you, and sort of looking at, oh, this person seems to be having more fun than I am. Why?
I think here are two things. I think the first thing, I was just sort of like, the whole point of comedy is to spread joy and be funny and make people laugh and have them like, you know, have the audience like not be stressed out about life for an hour. And I go, but you're spending all your time not enjoying this. So A, what is the point? Why are you still doing this? You could just have a day job you don't like. Why go out why go out at night and be for subjecting yourself to this? And the other thing is I do a lot of shows over at Eastville Comedy Club in Brooklyn. And I want to say Janine Garofalo and I, we met maybe like 3 years ago. Oh, more than that. Sorry, more than that. Maybe like 5 or 6 years ago. But we would do a lot of spots together. And I've always thought that she was brilliant. Like when I started getting into doing stand-up comedy, I was watching her specials. And a lot of times, because I had the heat of Two Dope Queens, like the booker would do Janine and then me. So I was like, okay, I gotta follow Janine. And she would do her set and she would just be so brilliant and loose and confident and fun and finding her way to jokes. And it was amazing. And then she would like stay and she would watch my set. And I thought like, okay, the first time it's just cause you're like trying to see like who this person is. But like every time, like almost every time I would go, but she didn't have another spot, she would just like watch my set. And I was like, wow, okay, let me just process that. And her and I just hit it off. And she was like, you're just so diligent. I see when you come off stage, you like go into your notebook and you write your notes. And she was like, you're so funny. And And like, it was just sort of like, you know, my fro was blown back. I was like, Janine Garofalo thinks I'm funny. She watches my set. She notices my process. And I just seeing how free she was on stage, seeing how much it was just sort of like, it's just another set. That's all it is. Yeah. You're going to have fun. You're going to figure it out. I was just like, she's so cool. She's so smart and she's so correct. And I don't need to get stressed if like someone is watching me work because I was watching her work. We're all just watching each other work. And so I felt like a colleague with her as opposed to like, she's this massive legend and I'm down here. She just immediately put us on the same level. So then I just was like, no matter how big you are, when you're starting out with a new bit, it's a great equalizer. So it just made me go, I don't need to take this so seriously in that regard, which was really helpful.
Yeah, I mean, it does make you think about your own place in the comedy world too when that starts happening. And I'm sure there are people, younger comedians, who look up to you in that way. And because you've been doing it so much longer than they have you had those experiences of, somebody viewing you maybe the way that you view Janine?
Yeah, and I always think it's very sweet. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, thank you for paying attention or thinking, or having some sort of like positive thoughts about me or wanting to do a good job in front of me. I just think that like one of the things that I really like about stand up where it is right now, I think that whole, and I think it still does exist, the whole like you got a crush and if someone has a bad set, people are going to talk. But I think there's much more freedom in just sort of being like, okay, one bad set doesn't define it doesn't mean you're not funny because you had a bad show. It means the like past 10 years don't mean anything. Like we just can't think like that. That's just such a negative way of living. And so, whenever people are like, oh, I'm always like, I'm just a comic. I'm just like you. I'm figuring it out. I'm like, I'm sure you heard some bumps in my set. Like just give yourself a little grace, I think is the big takeaway for me. We were talking about it's a very different time now than, 5 years ago when you were last on this show. And there was a bit that really stood out in the special to me where you're talking about, it starts with you talking about, white women getting an entire season dedicated to them. But Black women, don't get the same opportunities, demanding defund the police, but getting brown Band-Aids instead. And that felt like it's very of this time in, 2020 when that kind of stuff was happening. Now it's like
almost the opposite, where we're not even getting the brown Band-Aids. You're getting, Sydney Sweeney, great jeans commercials. So I was just curious how you think about that, where that bit came from, and do you see a difference now in the culture since some of that stuff that you were talking about?
Yeah, I just think anytime the powers that be, they always just want to pacify people. So it's like, we'll get, you want ABC, these things that are structurally will really truly benefit your life and make society better. We won't do that, but we'll do this other thing. And you're like, thank you for Juneteenth. I appreciate that. But systemically, I would like if women of color weren't paid less than everybody else. Like that. How about we work on that? That is a thing that will benefit everyone's lives greatly. And I just found it like funny and interesting and fascinating, the ways in which the simple solution is always right there, but it's always, we're going to go and do all these U-turns. And I think right now we're in every day I wake up and I'm like, I don't know what the hell is going on. I don't know what we're doing, what we're living in. I think, I don't want to say like a lot of humanity has lost, because I'm like, if you look at historically, not been great. It's not been great for multiple groups in this country. So I don't think that this is anything new. But I think right now, because of social media, we are actually bombarded with how awful things are, in a way that I don't think our brains are designed to process. Like, we're not supposed to be taking in this much information all the time, thinking about all the wars and, just like the politics and reproductive, like all these big, heavy topics are not something that should just be fodder for social media. And so I think it is really bizarre to live in this time, but I am just like, we have to laugh. Like, we can't just all be keyboard warriors and be like, we're going to say our point of view. You're wrong. Shut up. The end. I'm like, I'm like, there has to be more to like human interaction than something that is just so rife with just anger.
Well, I'm curious for your reaction to some of this crackdown on free speech, which I think has become a really big topic of conversation in the comedy world, obviously with late night TV, but just generally, as a comedian, are you having conversations about this with people? Are you concerned about, what will be okay to say in certain platforms and moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think there is definitely concern. And I think in the past, there was like this faux victim, like, I'm a comic and I can't say anything. And it's like, you can literally say whatever you want. People also have the right to be like, what you just said was bullshit. Both those things can exist. Right. And so I think this sort of like freedom of speech, I'm like, you're not under attack. You're not under attack. Like Louis C.K. is like selling out Madison Square Garden and winning awards. I'm like, he's not under attack for anything that he did. So I think there's always this sort of like fake victimization that doesn't actually exist. And when a lot of comics say they can't say whatever they want, I always want to be like, oh, you're just not good at your job. Because there's so much to joke about. There's so much to write about. There's so much to talk about. And you're struggling and you've been doing this for 20 years. You fucking suck at your job. I'd rather you say that and own that than be like, why can't I like make jokes about trans people or gay people and shit on all these? Because I'm like, why do you want to do that? Yeah. What is to be gained by doing that? And so I think right now is a very interesting time. Of course, with like Jimmy Kimmel and Amber Ruffin and, that is sort of like we just kind of have to keep pushing back and pushing forward. I think that the second that we really truly do start to roll over, I think is when things are going to get dangerous. And I know that means that some people are going to lose work or lose job or lose money. And I'm just like, I don't want that to happen to anyone, but it's like you have to sort of stand up for what you believe in. And sometimes that requires a level of sacrifice, but we can't not protect people's right to call out the nonsense that's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's this huge irony that some of the comedians who have been the loudest in the past about, like, you know, I can't say what I want to say and free speech warriors and all that, were the same ones who really supported Trump last year. And you wrote this really great Substack piece, really zeroing in on Andrew Schulz and some of the other, you know, manosphere podcasters who helped Trump win and are now like, this isn't what I voted for, and are all upset about it. So can you talk about, you know, why you wanted to write that and what you were sort of trying to communicate with it? Because I think it was really a powerful piece.
Oh, thank you. I just took umbrage with the confusion, like, oh my God, this is a rope-a-dope, and I had no idea. I'm like, you had every idea. I go, this man, and my man, I mean Trump, I go, he's doing everything he said he was going to do. He's been a monster for decades. You just didn't care when it wasn't going to come anywhere remotely close to your world. And I think a lot of people do take joy in the subjugation of others. And, you know, Trump enjoys that. And I think a lot of people who vote for him enjoy that. And so for me, when I was writing this Substack, to be like, I'm so confused and I can't believe that this is going on, I go, you shouldn't be speaking into a microphone if you can't use any critical thinking to see that what is happening now is what was always going to happen. And it also bothered me because I think a lot of times the pivot to those audiences was to make money. And now they want to pivot away because they're like, oh, I think, you know, history is not going to be on my side with this. And it goes, no. You have to live with your choices. You have to live with what you did. We know who you voted for, and just take ownership over. I think if you're confident enough to vote for Trump and these policies that are basically stripping away as much of people's humanity as possible, that you need to own that choice publicly and loudly. You know, it's the same way you go on these dating apps. Like you see like some of these guys where it's like, okay, you voted for Trump, but you want to date the liberal women who would never vote for Trump. Like you have to unpack that. You know what I mean? Like there's just so much of a kind of a double standard and nonsense that's going on. And so when I was writing that, I was just like, I'm just sick of it. I'm like, you have these massive platforms and you're so happy to just be perpetuating lies, providing a platform to people like Trump and his cronies, and then want to be like, I was duped, as if you're the victim. It's like you were the leader of your destiny, so own it.
It does feel like, you know, you and Jessica Williams had this platform of Two Dope Queens that you ended in 2018, sort of before the major rise of the manosphere. Do you ever think about, you know, how you could have served as some sort of counterweight to that, or had a voice on the other side in the podcast world? Is that something that you ever think about?
I will say it's not, because podcasting is so different now than when we were doing it. Like it still felt like the wild, wild west. It's still like, yeah, we would get shitty comments on social media. I mean, that's just sort of part and parcel of social media. Mm-hmm. But there was just such a freedom that the show had. There was just such a like overwhelming sense of positivity and joyfulness, not only from Jess and I, but the other actors on the show, the audience. Like it just really felt like this little cocoon that we had built. And I don't know, in the world that we live in, which is just so combative and it's so rife with everyone just yelling at each other, I just don't know how it would work in this atmosphere. And I think we would get a lot more vitriol than we got in the past. And I don't think I would have enjoyed that. Yeah,
a lot more negative attention as opposed to the positive attention that you were getting then.
Yeah. And I just know it's not worth it.
Yeah, you feel like you ended it at the right time?
Anyway, I mean, you can't, it's really hard to top Michelle Obama. Like, honestly, like that was such a crazy, incredible experience that we were just like, yeah, this is how we want to go out. Yeah.
That reminds me of you. You have this great closing bit that I don't want to spoil in the special, but it sort of imagines, if there were rumors about Megan Thee Stallion having an affair with Barack Obama. And I felt like you really, again, because you taped a while ago, you really got ahead of the story on that one, because there were all those rumors about, divorce and all this stuff that I think were totally made up. But what did you make of that? Did you feel like, oh, wait, I may have predicted something here?
No, it just feels like people are very much, if you are not on social media every day saying, I love my spouse, your relationship is over. And I go, these people are in their 60s, living their lives. She's writing books. They're going on vacation. They're spending time out of the limelight, which was really brutal to them and their family. I'm like, they don't need to prove they're in love to you. And I think the sort of like parasocial relationships that people have with anyone who's famous, I'm like, let them be together. I go, and if they're getting a divorce, it's not your business. It just felt so like, guys, there's more important things to be worrying about than speculating or hoping for someone's relationship to fall apart. Like, let them live.
One other thing I wanted to ask you about, because we're talking in the middle of this Riyadh Comedy Festival. I don't know if you've been paying attention to this story.
Yeah.
Maybe your invitation got lost in the mail. I don't know. Did you get it? You didn't get the invite on that one?
Was not invited and would not have done it.
Yeah. You didn't have to make that hard decision that apparently a lot of people have been making.
Yeah.
It's a crazy story. And just because, I think a lot of people have been coming out and saying that they turned it down. I saw Atsuko Okatsuko said, posted the contract with all of the stipulations and said she turned it down. I think Michael Che just came out and said he didn't, turned it down. But there were very few women on the lineup. I think there's like 3 out of, 30 or something. But there's some really big names who did decide to do it. Chappelle, Kevin Hart, Aziz Ansari, and Bill Burr, who just has been talking about how great it was. So yeah, what have you been making of that whole thing, because that's another big topic in the comedy world right now.
Yeah, I'm just like, how much money do you need?
Yeah, some of these people are already so rich.
Yeah, I'm like, how much money will it take to fill whatever hole is inside you? And the answer is there's not enough.
Yeah.
There's not enough. There's no reason to do that gig at all. I'm sure they were dangling like an amazing amount of money. You could get it elsewhere. Like I haven't been in this industry long enough, and I've worked on things that have been great, worked on things that haven't been great. And every time I had like a not great experience, I was always like, the money wasn't worth it. It just fully was not. I was like, I was either miserable, people were terrible. I'm like, it wasn't worth it. Okay, I got the check. And then you use the money to pay the bills, go on vacation, da-da-da. I mean, you start all over again. So you just have to kind of like hold the line and be like, this is where my values are. This is what I think is important. This is what I'm going to say. My actions are going to prove what I truly cherish in the world. And like the rest of it, if it's not in alignment, don't fucking do it, because it's a slippery slope and you're just going to do whatever whenever someone dangles a carrot in your face. So I just found it very not surprising. But I was just like, what's the point? What's the point?
There's definitely feels like there's been a divide politically in the comedy world for a while now, but this really put it in sharp relief, I think, when you saw who said yes and who said no.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Bill Burr of it all kind of was probably the most surprising.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. All right.
Yeah, not only did it, but now is going out there and saying how incredible it was and how, we shouldn't be criticizing. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just like, anytime you have to like go and be like, no, but guys, really, it was great. No, but guys, seriously, it's really good. It's like, okay, we've already know that it's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't get it.
Yeah. So now what I want to do is our segment called The First Laugh, which we didn't have on the show when you were on last. So this is exciting because I have a lot of good questions for you. Starting with the first piece of comedy that you remember making you laugh really hard as a kid growing up.
Oh. Oh. There's so many. The Simpsons, TGIF. I used to love Family Matters. Oh my God. I used to watch Martin all the time with my family, and that show is just so funny. Still holds up. Gosh. Yeah, those are probably... Oh, I used to watch a lot of cartoons. So like Pinky and the Brain, the stuff like that. That was so, it's so multi-layered, like stuff for like my brain at that age, and then stuff for like, teenagers and until like that kind of like just multi-layered stuff. Like, oh, it's great. Yeah. I know that was a lot, but it's great. Yeah.
What about the first time that you knew that you were funny, that you could make other people laugh?
Ooh, I don't remember the first time, but I do feel like I've just always been funny. And I think everyone in my family is funny, like my brother, my parents, but I think I'm the funniest. But I think we just always used to like joke around and tease each other and buzz balls. So I feel like, you go into school, you make people laugh and you get friends that way. So I feel like I just always remember that I had the ability to be amusing to people. And I could charm my way into things by being funny. Yeah.
What do you remember about the very first time you got on stage to perform stand-up?
Oh, so I took a class, 2008, Caroline's. Linda Smith was a teacher. And it was like 8 weeks. And at the end, we did like a, basically like friends and family bringer show, like 3 p.m. at Caroline's. And I remember I had done like, improv and stuff in college, but that's just different. You're like with the team. And so I just remember going on stage and feeling very comfortable and very much like, I think this is like what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, it just felt like, yeah, this makes sense. Like, I felt that the first class, but the first show, I was like, yeah, no, this all just, I'll figure it out. This makes sense. And so I just was like, I'm going to trust the universe. I'm going to keep doing the things. But it just felt, it fit. It fit. Do
you have a first joke or bit or something that you felt like really worked with an audience that you could keep going back to, or that you just felt good about?
Yeah, I had this joke about being catcalled and how, uncreative people could be. I think in the Midwest, they'd be like, hey, Belle, it'd be like, whatever, like, hey, shoes. And then in like New York, it'd be like, hey, what's up, Tanzania? Tanzania sassy, Tanzania sassy. And it was just like a very like, obviously first joke that you write that you're like, oh, that gets a chuckle. That's something. And it just felt like fun, and it always got a laugh. And so I was always like, yay, this joke always works.
Do you have a story or memory about your first time performing on either late night TV or on other, on TV in general, performing comedy?
Yeah, my first late night set, my dream was to do Letterman, and I just did not get it good enough in time before he, stepped away. And so January 2015, I remember this because my manager at the time had emailed me, and she was like, there's a spot on Seth Meyers in 10 days. Do you have a tape? And I go, gosh, I mean, I haven't done like I tried to get on a couple of late night shows, but I hadn't done like a recent tape in like 6 months. So I was like, okay, let me just like do like some stats and like record a 5-minute set. And I did it, turned it in, got it. And this was around the time when I was putting together like my first book proposal. And my lit agent was like, okay, so what we're going to do, your book proposal is like basically done. We're going to hold on sending it out. I think it was like January 15th or something, January 8th or something. It was early to mid-Jan 2015. And he goes, the day after your Seth Meyers set, I'll get the like YouTube link and I'll send it along with your book proposal. And I just was like, oh, okay. You know, I just like didn't have time to consider age. Yeah. So I was just like, okay, I'm going to go do this. I told my parents, I was like, I'm doing Seth Meyers, and I brought like a bunch of my friends to watch. And I remember I had like my little black skinny jeans. I had this like little blazer that I think I got from not Zara, but what is it, like Bebe, or like one of those like kind of like like the limited, one of those like professional lady outlets. Express. I got it from Express. And I was just like, I'm like actually doing it. I'm actually going to get like my first like 7 years in, and it went by in a blast. And it went well, and Seth was so lovely. And I was just like, this is so, like, I just was like, oh, this is so cool. This is so cool that this happened, you know? And it's so funny, like, those early days where you're just like, you're stoked when you get those, like, small, I mean, it's still a big win, but you get, like, those small wins where you're like, wow, 5 minutes on TV. How groovy. Yeah.
It was several years after that you got the opportunity to guest host Jimmy Kimmel's show in 2021. What was that like to all of a sudden be, you know, hosting this show for a night? Was it just one night that you did, or?
It was just one night. It was so fun. It was so easy. His staff is lovely. Everyone was great. I love talk shows. I've always loved talk shows. Growing up, I would watch late night. I would watch like daytime. Like I just love it. And I know that it's a dying art form, but I just was like, oh, this is so cool. And again, it was like, I'm just going to have fun. I was like, doing this is the victory. So just have a great time. And I remember I was like a little nervous, but I still have the pink shoes that my stylist got me. And I was like, I will buy those shoes. I forget the brand, but the brand's like, oh no, they're going to gift it to you. And also they're up in my closet. And every time I look at them, I go, that's when I guest hosted Jimmy Kimmel, but it was so fun. And I think in another world, if like late night shows were still like a thing, like I would probably want to host one of those, because I just think, I don't know, it's just like nice to be like the last thing people watch before they go to bed, you know? And I remember watching like Conan, like staying up to like watch Conan and like sneaking and watching it when I'm like supposed to be in bed during high school. I'm like, it's just so cool. You get to be weird and write new jokes every day. I don't know. I just think talk shows, especially late night talk shows, are just so beloved in my heart.
Yeah. It's a shame that the network late night talk show appears to be dying before a woman ever gets an actual shot at it.
I know.
Maybe that won't be the case. Maybe something will change, but I don't know. It's not looking good.
No, not at all.
Looking back at your career so far, is there something that you said no to that now you think, ooh, maybe I should have said yes to that one?
That is a good question. I'm thinking the answer is no, actually. I am a firm believer in the universe. I know LLL. I also believe in horoscope, but I really do think that certain things are just meant to turn out the way they're meant to turn out. And so I'm like, everything I booked or I've done, I was supposed to do, all the stuff I didn't book, even though if I think I did a good job auditioning or I turned it down, I wasn't meant to do it. And it's a clear path for someone else to step into that moment. And I just believe everything like evens out in the end. So no, but you know, I wish I was like Will Smith and I was like, oh, I turned down the Matrix but he wouldn't have been right for it anyway. he wasn't right for it. So it doesn't matter. Yeah, yeah.
The flip side, is there anything you said yes to that you now wish you'd said no to?
No.
You mentioned not, wishing you, saying the money wasn't worth it on something. So
it's just like sometimes you go into a job and you're like, oh, I think this is going to be like so fun. You get like a little bit of cash, like super cool. And you get there and you're like, oh, everyone sucks. You're like, oh, okay. Yeah, this fashion is going to make up for the fact that these people suck. But no, I think even though there's still tons of things in my career I want to do, I do feel like I've done a lot. I've written 3 books, I'm my own print, the podcast, or the HBO shows. So like, even in this moment when things are like on the slower side and Hollywood is kind of like atrophying as we speak, I feel like, yeah, I've done a good amount. And I think that perspective is not one I would have had like 2 or 3 years ago. I think 2 or 3 years ago, I've been so hyper fixated on what I haven't done yet that I would have just disregarded everything I'd done. And then it's like, well, that's just not right either.
Yeah. Do you have a story or memory about the first time you met one of your really big comedy heroes?
Oh, I'll use my Janine. Janine and I share a birthday.
Oh, wow.
It's so crazy.
Astrology.
Yeah, it is. Well, we were hanging out and we grabbed tea before, I think we had shows, but in different parts of Manhattan. And I was like, oh, my birthday's coming up soon. Well, she's like, oh, really? Is it? I was like, yeah, it's in September. She goes, my birthday's in September. And I was like, oh, I'm September 28th. And she goes, I'm September 28th. And I was like, no way. She goes, and explains why I just feel like a maternal energy towards you. And I was like, that was like the nicest thing she could have said. But okay. Yeah. I went to a Knicks game with someone and I got invited. So I kind of sat like courtside, but like, further down. I'm not in the Tracy Morgan section, and so it was like halftime and me and my friend were going to like, it's another comedy. I went with 2 other comedy people and we were going to the buffet getting food and Chris Rock comes up behind us. He points to, I think it was like when me and Alana Glazer and Michelle Buteau went. He pointed to Alana, he goes, you're funny. Pointing to Michelle, he goes, you're funny. Points to me, he goes, you're funny. And he goes, like, he grabs his food and he leaves. And I go, oh, Chris Rock knows who I am? And he just drive by that and went and got some fucking ravioli and fucked off. And I was like, that's all I get?
You're funny.
Yeah, you're funny. I was like, we'll take that. So that was like pretty cool. And then, oh gosh, I'm trying to think other like comedy heroes. I think those are 2 pretty.
Those are 2 good ones.
Yeah.
The question that we end every episode with, is there a story or memory from your career that makes you laugh now, but really was not funny when it happened?
Oh, something that makes me laugh now is not funny when it happens. Oh, so like a full few. Here a couple. So I used to do college shows, which are their own kind of beast. Mm-hmm. And I forget who I went with, but we were doing a college show, so I think we each had to do like 40 minutes. And I forget the school. But they were like, it was like not a great crowd. Like sometimes you can go like, oh, I suck. Like that's fully me. And sometimes you go, that crowd was like fully ass. And I go, oh, this crowd was like kind of rough. And I was like, I'm just going to hang in there. I'm going to like do like my bit, like this is all I have. Mm-hmm. This is all I have. So I go and I'm doing like my material and the crowd was like, they're just being kind of like, they're talking a lot. They're being like kind of rowdy, da da da. So I'm like, I'm going like back and forth with them, like kind of like roasting them a little bit because they were truly like starting to be assholes. And the person who was like overseeing the event, she comes on stage, she like grabs the microphone. So we're like going, like pulling it back and forth, and she like pulls it out of my hand and she like kills my set. And I was like, obviously so mortified, so embarrassed, so like, but also like, bitch, I was like fending for myself. I was shutting these kids down. You know, like,
she was like, no, you're done.
Yeah. And I like, now I could laugh at it because it's like, who cares? But in the moment, I was just so like, am I that terrible at stand-up? Can I not even fend for myself? What is going on? But now it just kind of you kind of have to have those like shows where like, you know, it just goes off the rails and you just don't let it destroy you. Like the whole point is that, can you survive it? And it's like, yeah, you can survive it.
Well, Phoebe, thank you so much for doing this. Your new stand-up hour, I Don't Want to Work Anymore, is streaming for free, I believe, right now on YouTube. Yes. Thank you so much for coming back on the podcast. It was great talking with you again.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I hope I was coherent. I got back from London last night, so I'm a little...
You killed it. All right. Thank you.